I posted online about developing feelings for my coworker but have never acted on these feelings. My wife found the post and was crushed by what I wrote. Now she wants to divorce. My wife, 28F, and I, 29M, have been married for 4 years and together for 6. I love her deeply. However, recently I have developed an infatuation with a woman I work with. I did not cheat and have a strictly professional relationship with her. I recognized my feelings as a mere crush but still felt guilty and needed to talk about it. About 2 months ago, I posted on a forum, not Reddit, about this woman and found sympathy. It helped me understand how crushes in a long-term relationship work. A month ago, I came home to my wife having printed my post. She confronted me, and as I was taken by surprise, I didn't really know how to explain myself. I couldn't lie either, so I just apologized to her. She read me my post while crying. I cannot post it entirely here, but basically, I said she was a breath of fresh air, the reason I'm happy to go to work. I wish I could hold her in my arms and know how she smells. I often dream of her, sometimes I lie down and imagine her in front of me. These were things I was thinking but couldn't say out loud. They were things that could have been written in a diary. They were private thoughts, and I never imagined my wife would read them. In the end, it is just a fantasy. Ever since that day, my wife has barely spoken to me. She refuses to discuss it and won't look me in the eye the rare times she addresses me. She moved into our guest room. She told me she was getting ready to divorce and would file when she has enough money, and that I shouldn't hope, that I am free to pursue that woman. I understand why she is hurt, but it is just an infatuation. It is not comparable to the love and history I have with her. How can I get that through to her? She told me she never had feelings for another man and that I betrayed her. She won't stay married to a man who yearns for another woman. I told her I would change jobs, but she just said I'll still dream of her. She is completely closed off. What can I do? /relevant comments. Commenter. So, have you gotten a new job yet? What have you done to show your wife that you're serious about your marriage and that she's the only one who matters to you? Ops downvoted response. She won't let me talk to her or touch her. Sometimes she will leave the room when I come in. She is like a wall. I tried buying her favorite flowers and wrote a card, but she didn't take them. I am invisible to her. I was looking for jobs when I informed her I would change jobs to avoid the woman, but she told me not to bother as she was leaving. In this economy, I cannot easily risk being unemployed, especially if I will end up divorced. Commenter 2. There's an innocent crush, and then there's wanting something to happen between the two of you. Your wife knows this, everybody knows this, and you should know this. You wanted to hold your coworker in your arms, etc., etc. It's not the fact that you have a crush on someone, it happens naturally and is human nature. It's the fact that you had a crush and wanted things to happen between you two, and that's what broke your wife's heart. Also, in the first place, if you wanted to keep your thoughts private, you shouldn't have posted them on the internet. Commenter 3. Why not try writing her a proper letter? What you need to do is not make excuses or try to defend your actions. The only mention of this other woman should be to say that you knew it was only a crush that would pass, that what you wrote was just a release, and that even by doing so, it helped you reaffirm your true love for your wife and allowed you to get over the crush. One paragraph about this. For the rest of it, you need to write about your wife and your feelings for her, your hopes for your future, etc., and to do so with the same, or greater, degree of passion that you had written in your post about your crush. I'm guessing what bothered her the most about your post was that it made her feel like you don't feel that sort of passion toward her anymore, which, hey, after 6 years of marriage isn't completely unexpected, and then seeing you expressing this sort of passion about another woman. So you need to pour your heart out about how you really feel about your wife. Write her poetry. A sonnet. Whatever. Make it all about her, not about you or whatever mistakes you might have made. Redeclare your love, heart, and undying passion for her. At the end, ask for a compromise. Don't ask for forgiveness, but ask her to give you a chance to reprove your love for her. Make it clear you do not expect things to immediately return to normal, but all you are asking for is the chance to prove your love for her is sincere. To do so, you will need to take very small, slow steps, ask her on a date, and make it clear that her agreement to go on this date is not a commitment to reconciliation. And make the date a freaking good one. No Applebee's or Olive Garden crap. No movie theaters, either. When you show up to pick her up for the date, show up with flowers. In short, romance her. Romance the crap out of her. Update 5 months later. I had forgotten about this post, and I'm back to update, so maybe seeing my stupidity could prevent someone else from making the same mistakes. I cringe when I read today what I wrote months ago, and it seems ridiculous to me that I could have felt this way about another woman. I wrote that I would imagine my former coworker while lying in bed, but in the end, when my wife stopped acknowledging my existence, waking up without seeing her face was just absolute torture. I really took all I had for granted until I almost lost it. So I took some of the advice and decided to court my wife again as hard as I could. Of course, the first step was looking for another job, and it took me a month, but I managed to find a similar position in another enterprise. I did what was suggested, taking over every chore, and she stopped ignoring me but would simply stare at me with some kind of hostility and go on with her life. I tried flowers, but she would leave them to die. My wife's dominant love language is physical, but I wouldn't dare try touching her, so I went for telling her. I somehow realized it was really the content of what I wrote about the other woman, obviously amplified by the crush, that really hurt her. I tried engaging her in conversation so we could talk about what was happening to us, but more importantly, what I did to her, but she remained closed off. And so I started writing her letters and would leave them under her pillow. At first, I apologized for everything, for writing the post, for not putting an end to the crush faster, for making her feel like another woman could hold a higher place of importance to me, and for not taking the initiative to change jobs earlier. For making her life hard by creating this situation, which ended in her sleeping in the guest room of her own house, for making her cry, and for causing her stress. Then I wrote her love letters, telling her how much I loved her, how the crush couldn't compare to the deep love I have for her. I was chewed out for saying I loved her because of our history in my last post, but I was misunderstood. I meant that the love I have for her has gotten stronger with time. 5 years ago, I loved her but wouldn't have given her one of my organs if she needed it, for example, while now I would without hesitation. Our history is what caused the attachment to grow stronger, therefore, no random crush could override that. I was awed in front of my crush and wrote sappy things about her, but in the end, I do not know this woman on a personal level, while I have seen the worst of my wife and the love remains. I told her how beautiful she was and how impressed and proud I was of her development as a person since we met, how grateful I was for her presence in my life, and every single thing she did that enhanced my life. How much I needed her and missed hearing her tell me how her day went, laugh at my bad jokes, and basically just missed hearing the sound of her voice. This is a small sample, but it must have taken a good 3 weeks of daily letters until she answered me back. She answered with a letter of her own, telling me how much I had hurt her with my crush, how I made her feel invisible next to that woman, how I never told her such loving words, until the letters, how much she hated me but also how she loved me and missed me too. Her letter allowed me to feel her vulnerability. After reading it, I cried and went to see her. We locked eyes, she cried, and we held each other for a long time. She started talking to me again then and softened. Honestly, the possibility of the marriage ending just like that scared both of us. As of today, we are, to my surprise, mostly back to normal, and actually, I feel closer to her. We continue with the letters, which have helped increase our emotional intimacy. I make an effort to tell and show her my love. I am very grateful that she has given me a second chance, and even more so that she has decided to put the crush behind us. We've had maybe 2 fights since, but she hasn't brought it up and doesn't punish me. It really wasn't the crush itself but how I went about it and the lack of affection from my part in comparison. Maybe I'm being optimistic here, but I truly think we're going to get through this. We will be going to couples counseling after our vacation just to make sure things are really settled between us. /relevant comments. Commenter. It's nice how hard you are trying. The thing you need to continue to work on is not stopping this once you have got her completely back. For me, I would never get over what you said. I would have filed for divorce immediately. I'm glad things are working out for you, though. Ops response. Thank you. I do not plan on stopping. I realize I wasn't putting enough work into my marriage before. Commenter 2. I'm glad this has turned around for you guys. Most importantly, I'm glad that you have actually realized how badly this hurt her. In your last post, you kind of seemed like you were saying, what's the big deal? It's not like I cheated on her. So I'm glad that you realize that there are other things you can do in a relationship that can be really painful for spouses as well. Story 2. My in-laws wanted to invite my daughter's biggest bully to her birthday party because he must love her. Now they're upset because I had to explain to my daughter that her grandparents are very stupid people. My wife and I have 3 kids. Our youngest, Emily, turned 6 last Sunday. We recently had to deal with an issue at Emily's school. Last year, a new student joined her class and started bullying her. He would make fun of her, call her names, and steal her belongings to hide them around the school. On 2 occasions, the bullying became physical. It took us a while to sort everything out because the boy's parents were a nightmare, and nothing the school did worked. Finally, they threatened to expel him if he didn't leave our daughter alone, and his family got him to stop. He hasn't bothered Emily in months, and she is doing much better. Because of how much of an ordeal this ended up being, many of our friends and family members know what happened. Most were as frustrated as we were, but my wife's stepmother, Patty, thought the whole thing was cute. Even after we told her everything the boy did, she still insisted he probably just liked Emily and didn't know how to show it. For whatever reason, she's fixated on this. Every time the subject comes up, Patty says she still thinks we're being dramatic and that the boy deserves another chance. My father-in-law fluctuates between being angry at the school and agreeing the boy was probably harmless. They never spoke about this near the kids, and my wife and I don't give a damn what they think anyway, so we never worried much about it. We're throwing Emily a birthday party this Saturday. Because my father-in-law will be busy, we all had dinner together at a place Emily likes the day before her birthday. Near the end of the dinner, she started talking about her party, how excited she was, and which of her friends were coming. My father-in-law asked Emily if the bully was invited. And before anyone could reply, he obviously isn't, Patty added that it would be mean if she didn't invite him because he liked her and would be very sad. Emily looked at me and my wife. I told her, "Don't worry, honey, Grandpa and Patty are both very stupid. Don't listen to them." They looked shocked but didn't try to argue. We had an awkward goodbye and went our separate ways. My father-in-law called us on Monday. He apologized for what he and Patty said but told us he expected me to apologize as well. He said that I crossed a line by insulting him and his wife in front of his grandchildren. My wife and I have been on the same page throughout all this. But yesterday, she told me she was starting to wonder whether it wouldn't have been better to deal with this privately, especially since we don't like insulting people in front of the kids. Am I the jerk for telling my daughter that my in-laws are stupid? /relevant comments. Commenter. There was probably no other way to make your mother-in-law shut up, so not the jerk. What I find disturbing is that your mother-in-law prioritizes a bully over her own grandchild. Since when is bullying a sign of affection? If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, chances are it is a duck. Seen in a wider context, your mother-in-law enables and makes excuses for the kind of toxic behavior that men display towards women on a daily basis. Instead of protecting her grandchild, she exposes her to a bully. That's seriously insane. Op's response. Back when we were having to deal with the boys' parents, one of the excuses they used, referring to the name-calling, was that all boys behave like that around girls. I think about that a lot. Both because I know it's not true, neither of my sons are like that, nor did I act like that when I was a child, and because of how disheartening it is that people could enable that. Commenter 2. I wouldn't apologize, they were out of line. You have to take bullying seriously, kids are harming themselves just from being bullied. And they really need to stop with "he likes her and meant no harm." Nothing is cute about being bullied and harassed. Op's response. Patty's whole attitude about this has been infuriating. We've barely spoken about this boy in months, but she feels the need to bring him up every single time. Op adds an edit to his post. I've brought this up in the comments, but I want to offer more context on what the bully did. It was mostly verbal. He created a few nicknames that kind of, not really, sounded like Emily's real name and our last name. She once got brown paint on her clothes during art class, and he started calling her pig. He laughed whenever she spoke in class. The teacher would always shut him down, but Emily is already a shy kid, and that didn't help. They have weekly toy days at school, and Emily stopped bringing her toys because the boy kept stealing them or threatening to break them. He'd also take her stuff, backpack, school materials, and personal items, and hide them. We managed to get all those things back, and the closest he got to damaging something she owned was a small rip in one of her stuffed animals that my wife was able to fix. And as I mentioned, the bullying got physical twice. On the first occasion, he pushed her off a swing set. She scraped her knees but wasn't hurt otherwise. The school reprimanded him, but it didn't do much. A few weeks after that, he put gum in her hair during lunch. A teacher witnessed it and said that he grabbed her head violently to do so. That got him suspended, and the school threatened to expel him not long after. I don't think there's much I can say about this boy, except that he has very obvious behavioral issues that his parents refuse to manage properly. Update 6 days later. I'm very grateful for the advice and support you gave me on my first post. To get it out of the way, Emily's birthday party went off without a hitch, and she had a great time with her friends. It's always bittersweet watching our little girl grow up so fast, but my wife and I enjoyed ourselves as well. We talked more about what happened over the last few days. My wife made it very clear that she didn't care that I called her father and Patty stupid and didn't think I should apologize, but she was concerned about our kids thinking I was a hypocrite. We always aim to teach them to be kind and avoid insulting others, and it doesn't feel fair to hold them to standards we don't hold ourselves to. So Friday night, we sat the kids down and discussed what I'd said. We explained that I was upset at what my in-laws had done and was trying to protect Emily, but that what I said was still not nice and they shouldn't repeat it. I apologized for the language I used. Besides that, my wife and I also talked about how we deal with her father and Patty. I told her I wanted them to apologize to Emily, and I wouldn't say a word to them until they did. She agreed with me. After the party, she texted her father the following. This is a translation. The party went well. About what happened at Emily's birthday dinner, Op will not apologize. Patty has no right to tell our daughter how she should feel about the boy who made her life hell for months, and neither do you. I'll call you tomorrow and you'll apologize to your granddaughter. If your wife wants to continue being a part of the children's lives, she will too. And if she mentions that boy again, I'll have to seriously rethink the role we're letting her have here. This isn't up for discussion. She showed me the text before sending it, but I agreed with pretty much everything. They had a short fight about it, but he agreed in the end. I offered to apologize to keep the peace, and my wife told me not to. Both my father-in-law and Patty finally apologized to Emily on Sunday. We're not confident about Patty, but my father-in-law seems sincere. Either way, we've decided to loosen our ties with my wife's stepmother for a while. We're still working everything out, but we'll see her less until at least my eldest son's birthday, October. I have no doubts my father-in-law loves my children, but he's a very strange guy. He was overprotective of his daughters throughout their youth, but frequently tells us we're dramatic when it comes to our kids. And I never had any strong feelings about Patty, but her treatment of Emily's situation has soured my image of her. On a side note, the bully found out about the party. His mother found my wife on Instagram and messaged her to complain that he wasn't invited. My wife reminded her of the day the school threatened to kick her son out. No reply as of today. I didn't know what to expect when I posted here, but I was glad to see that even those who thought I was in the wrong agreed that Emily and her well-being came first. At the end of the day, that's all I really care about. This will be my only update. Thanks, everyone. _relevant comments. Commenter. Glad everything worked out. As for the bully not being invited to the party but finding out, FAFO. Maybe if his parents didn't raise him to be mean to other kids, it wouldn't be an issue. Ops response. His parents enabled and found excuses for everything he did up until the consequences got too severe. The one time my daughter physically defended herself and the few times my sons yelled at him to defend her were upsetting to them. They disapproved of everything the school did to protect Emily, including moving their son to a different class. Commenter 2. I'm glad you taught your daughter that abusive peers don't like her. That kind of thinking is insane. I'm 60 and I hated hearing it when I was young. Ops response. Both my wife and I hate it too. It was especially infuriating when we were having to deal with the bully and his parents and Patty started trying to convince us that the boy had a crush on Emily. Hearing that the kid who was tormenting my daughter on an almost daily basis was just a cute little boy who didn't know how to deal with being in love was maddening. Commenter 3. Why the heck would that kid's parents care about your daughter having a birthday party? My God, they're deranged. Ops response. They didn't actually parent their child until the school threatened to expel him. Their reaction does not surprise me. My wife showed me the mother's text. She essentially said it wasn't fair to exclude her son and gave some of the same excuses for his behavior she had given during our meetings at the school. Story 3.
Ada for being pissed that my parents are forcing me to pay for my brother's grad school using money they set aside for me but never told me about. I, 30F, have been financially independent since graduating college. I worked practically full-time while studying, recently paid off my student loans on my own, and just started saving to buy a home. I didn't apply to grad school because I couldn't afford it, and my parents made it pretty clear growing up that we needed to stand on our own after high school. My brother, 22M, is honestly a genius. He worked really hard in school, got a full academic ride to a great state school, and graduated with honors. I'm so proud of him. The problem now is that he recently got into an extremely prestigious grad program that would open a lot of doors for him. He was hoping for scholarships or a paid internship to cover most of it, but it's not enough. Now he's facing tuition and housing costs in one of the most expensive cities in the country. My parents asked if I could help out and suggested I contribute around $15,000 to get him through the first year. They'd match it, and he'd take loans for the rest. I said no. I've been working for over a decade on my own goals, and I'm just now starting to save for a house. I don't feel comfortable putting that on hold, especially when I had to turn down opportunities because there was no help available to me. During the conversation, my mom got frustrated and said they'd be using my other fund to help him instead. I asked what she meant, and she said they had set aside about $25,000 for me back when I was in college, meant to be used for a future wedding. I was completely blindsided. I had no idea this fund existed. I asked why I wasn't told about it when I was considering grad school, or now while I'm saving for a home. She said it was always intended for a wedding, not school or property, and since I haven't needed it, I'm not engaged or in a relationship, they decided to give it to my brother because he has a more immediate need. I'm not going to lie, I was pissed. I never got a chance to make a case for how I could have used that money, and now it's just being handed over to someone else. I told them I felt hurt and left out. My mom said I was being unfair, and that the money was never promised, and if I didn't want it for a wedding, then it made sense to use it for something meaningful. My brother told me he didn't know about the wedding fund either, and he understands why I'd be upset, but said he didn't ask for it. He just wants to go to school and thought we were all trying to support each other. I know my brother worked hard and isn't trying to take anything from me, but I can't help feeling like my parents are punishing me for being practical. _relevant comments. Commenter. Those are really sexist expectations. If they wanted to financially support you, they could have given you the choice of using the funds for education, travel, a home, or a wedding, That's what I've done with my daughters, who I've been saving for since they were born. But, despite it being a jerk move, it is their choice how they spend their money. And it is presumably still their money, rather than an account in your name. So in practice, the jerk element was telling you that it was your money in the same move that they snatched it away from you again, though it was really the sexism that underpinned that decision, which has clearly been there all along. Op's response. That's the part that really upset me. Assuming they set aside money for both of us, why is he worth paying for grad school, but I'm only worth paying for a wedding? Op on favoritism in the family. They've never favored him like this before. I tried to point out that I paid off my student loans just fine, and it wouldn't kill him to have to do the same. Commenter 2. Never favored him like this before, that you know of. My mom liked to sneak covering expenses for my siblings and not me, oldest, girl, to avoid a conversation about why. Who knows, maybe they've covered other things for him and you weren't aware. Op's response. They helped me save a ton of money when I was in college by living at home instead of in the dorms. I had basically no expenses besides my car, gas, insurance, repairs, etc., and tuition. They never asked for rent or for me to chip in on food or household stuff. I moved out after college. My brother is currently at home, graduated early in December, and he's paying rent to my parents. Commenter 3. Why is he having tuition in grad school in the first place? Is this just a master's degree or a PhD? He should be pursuing a TA or RA position before the term starts and not have any tuition. Parents can then help him with housing, but if it's a prestigious program, he should be getting a cost of living level stipend from the program on top of tuition. If he's pursuing or getting none of this, it shouldn't fall on you to make up the difference. Op's response. The program costs around $100,000 a year between tuition and housing. His TA stipend, I'm not sure if that's what it's called, but he'll be working under a professor, plus scholarships, and his own savings from internships is covering a little more than half. Update 16 days later. Thanks to everyone who commented on my original post. I really appreciated the insight, especially from those who helped me understand why this hit such a nerve. Just to clarify, I have no intention of cutting my parents out over this. They let me live at home rent-free during college, gave me a lot of academic support growing up. I wasn't a naturally strong student like my brother, and have always been loving in most other ways. This situation hurt, but it doesn't erase everything they've done for me. Mother's Day was tense. As soon as I arrived, my mom said, "I don't want another fight to ruin today," when I tried to bring up the money again. I left after brunch. We finally talked this past weekend. My brother said he hadn't known about the wedding fund until I brought it up and felt awful it was causing tension. He's rethinking grad school now, saying it might be smarter to get work experience first. He applied to MBA programs and jobs while finishing undergrad, graduated early in December, and got into the program he planned to attend. Now he's planning to defer and focus on the job search instead. He also told me our parents had said I might help with the cost. He planned to pay me back but realized he wouldn't earn anything for a few years and would still set me back. That's part of why he reconsidered. My mom wasn't happy. She said she didn't want him giving up an amazing opportunity just because I was being bitter. That really stung. I told her I wasn't bitter, I was blindsided. I found out about the money during a conversation where I was being asked to hand over $15,000 for someone else's future. That was painful, especially since I turned down opportunities because no help was available. I just wish I'd known. That's when my dad stepped in. After I was born, he started saving for what he imagined as my dream wedding. It was sentimental to him. When my brother was born, they saved a similar amount for his wedding or family expenses. Neither of us knew these funds existed. They only considered using his for school when other aid fell short. After I said no, they decided to use both funds to help him and figured they'd replenish mine later. I get why it made sense to them, but it still hurt. Many commenters pointed out the situation was sexist, even if unintentionally. It's hard not to feel like I was expected to get married while my brother was expected to succeed. I don't think that's what they meant, but that's how it felt. To their credit, they listened. My dad apologized for not telling me sooner. My mom didn't fully agree, but I think she heard me. My brother asked if I'd help with his resume and interview prep, and I said yes. I told him I know this isn't his fault. He's worked hard and deserves what he's earned. I just needed to feel like my path mattered too. We're not back to 100%, but it feels better. I'm glad we talked. Top/relevant comments. Additional info from Op. Since some people are getting hung up over the wedding fund money and I couldn't include it due to the character limit, after our talk, my parents agreed to add my name to the savings account so I can access the money directly. They asked that I withdraw it in chunks over time for tax reasons, but it's mine now. My dad still hopes I'll use it for a wedding someday instead of a house, but ultimately he said the decision is up to me. As for my brother, they said he'll get access to his account in the same way when he turns 30, just to keep things fair. Downvoted commenter. So you get money whenever you want, but your brother can't go to college until he's 30? Ops response. My parents started putting away money every month into separate savings accounts after each of us was born. For me, they stopped contributing once the account hit $25,000 while I was in college and just let it grow with interest after that, so it's a bit higher now. My brother's account is younger and hasn't reached the same amount. They're not actively contributing to it anymore, and the only money going into his account right now is the rent he's been paying them since graduating. He agreed to let the money grow for now so he can use it for a down payment or to pay off student loans later. Commenter 2. So glad to hear that you moved it forward and that your family members each made their own efforts. Sounds like a good family. Ops response. My brother's a good kid. Honestly, the silence the past few weeks has been super weird since we usually send each other memes at least a few times a week. Commenter 3. Yikes, poor Op. The parents could have used the funds without telling her anything about it and just gone on their merry way, but the mom wanted to punish her for not immediately helping her favorite child.
Story 4. My daughter just moved back in after an abusive relationship and she's been wanting to be uncomfortably close to me. So, I will try to keep this brief. My 50M daughter, 24F, met a man I didn't really care for 3 years ago, right around when COVID was starting. He wanted her to move in with him quickly, and I could tell he was love bombing her. I was worried about how fast things were moving between them. She called me after she moved in, saying that she had to respect her relationship and that she needed to cut out anyone who wasn't supportive. I told her I didn't like where this was headed, the love bombing, moving in so quickly, now being isolated from her family. I told her these were warning signs, but she told me she was in love, etc. I told her if this was her choice, then so be it, but I would always love her, my door would always be open, and if she ever needed anything or needed help, I'd be there for her. I didn't hear from her again for a couple of years. Well, I got a call from her a few weeks ago. She was crying. She said I was right about him all along, things had gotten progressively worse, and now he had hit her for the first time, and that was her boundary. She asked me if my offer to help her was still on the table. I told her of course it was. I love her and would do anything for her. So as soon as we got the chance, I went over there, helped her pack up while he was gone, and moved her back into my house. You guys, I wanted to cry when I first heard her on the phone. She sounded so desperate. It was even worse when I saw her. She was emaciated, she had bruises, she was a shell of her former self. It breaks my heart to see how badly beaten down she's been. So here is where things start to get, well, awkward. About a week ago, she came into my bedroom at night in her pajamas and said she had been having trouble sleeping. She wanted to sleep in my bed, with me, which I thought was odd. I said it was a bit odd, but she begged me and said it would make her feel safe. She used to sleep in our bed when her mother was still alive and she was a little girl and had bad dreams, but that ended a long time ago. I figured whatever she had been through was enough, though, and I wasn't about to interrogate her or make her feel ashamed. I wanted her to feel safe, and so I agreed. She cuddled up with me, and we slept. This has now become a habit with her. She hasn't slept in her own bed since and is asking me to cuddle with her or spoon her while she is sleeping in my bed with me. I really don't know what to make of this. She says it makes her feel safe. I'm not sure this is appropriate, though. But at the same time, she's been through enough already, and I want her to feel safe and secure. Is this something you think she will move past once she recovers a bit? Should I tell her I think it's inappropriate? Top/relevant comments. Commenter. It sounds like she is very broken and reverting to childhood comforts. She needs a therapist to help her. She was severely abused for 3 years, and it's not going to be undone in 2 weeks or even 2 months. She needs professional help. If the cuddling makes you uncomfortable, for sure talk to her, gently. She is just seeking comfort and is still scared he's going to come for her. She knows Daddy will protect her. Ops response. I will protect her. I told her from the get-go she could always come to me. I'll always be on her side. We do have a therapist booked, but they didn't have an immediate opening. Commenter 2. God bless you. You are a wonderful father, and I wish I had a father like you in my life. You are saving your daughter, and your wife, from heaven above, would be proud of you. You are the savior in your daughter's life. Whatever you are doing is helping her feel safe and will help her recover from such a traumatic experience. Ops response. Thank you. I love my daughter unconditionally. I will always have her back. I will always pull her up when she falls down. I hope my wife is proud. My wife fought so hard to stay alive and stay with us. I know she would have fought just as hard for our daughter now as she did to stay with us. Op on how he felt about the other guy. I just felt something was really off about him. My daughter just thought I was being that dad who never thinks anyone is ever good enough for his little girl. Next to her mom dying, letting her go was the hardest thing I've ever done. Those 2 years worrying about her were murder. I knew things weren't going great because her best friend kept in touch with me and let me know how things were going before she, too, was cut off. Op adds an edit to his post. I've heard from so many women who have been through similar ordeals but didn't have supportive parents to help them. I just want to say to you all, I'm sorry that happened. None of it was your fault. You didn't deserve it. What you did deserve was to have a dad in your corner willing to tap into the match for you. It breaks my heart so many of you didn't have that. Update 1 month 2 weeks later. Okay, so I got some great advice, and I figured I would give everyone an update and clarify a few things because it will come into play. I know I said this in the comments, but I will reiterate it here. When I picked her up, I saw that she was underweight and had bruises on her face and neck, clearly strangulation marks on her neck, and she had been punched in the face. I immediately took her to a walk-in clinic. I wanted her checked for head trauma, to make sure she was okay, no broken bones or head trauma, etc. I also wanted the doctor's advice on getting her back up to a healthy weight, which foods to eat, which to avoid, refeeding syndrome, etc. The doctor told me her BMI was 15, not good, but not requiring immediate hospitalization. That would be 12 and under. I also wanted all of her injuries documented. I got pictures. The doctor gave me advice on how best to get her up to weight without her feeling sick. I asked my daughter if she wanted to file a police report and press charges. I wanted this, she did not. I didn't push it, but I kept the medical records from the doctor's visit. I got her home, and for the first week, I was careful about what I was feeding her and how much so we could get her healthy again without making her sick. I feel bad about it now because, after I put my original post up, my daughter opened up to me about what he did and put her through. One of the things he would do was watch what she was eating and how much. He would constantly warn her about getting fat and not being attractive anymore. I now feel a bit bad because, when she got home, I too was monitoring what she was eating at first. I know it's for different reasons, but it still makes me feel bad. Anyway, on to the update part of things. She did finally write down everything that he did to her. I took a copy of this and put it with her medical files in case she ever decided to press charges later. I took her to her therapist's appointment, and he recommended what many of you did, a specialist. He had the name of a domestic abuse specialist who was also a woman. We are keeping him on for me and as counseling for the two of us. I try to be a good father, but there were cracks in our relationship he was able to exploit to turn her against me. There were things I did wrong after my wife's death and things we need to address, and also just to get help with helping her recover. She's now seeing a domestic abuse specialist. As for the sleep thing, well, I had a talk with her and the therapist about it, and we came up with a plan utilizing many of the recommendations mentioned in the last thread, and we are all comfortable with the solution we've come up with. I don't want to get too much into what he did to her, that's her story to tell. But he did utilize sleep deprivation. She told me he would make these jokes about how easy it would be for him to kill her in her sleep. He would joke like this all the time and then laugh about it. She repeatedly asked him to stop, but he didn't. I only mention it because people mentioned he might have done things to make her scared to sleep, and well, that was one of them. I don't want to repeat the others. Those are too personal. I took a leave of absence from work so I could be home with her. I prepared my weapons and got a ring cam to monitor the door. He did not give up on her easily. While she had blocked his number and social media profiles, he would repeatedly create false profiles or use burner phones to continue to harass her. At one point, I did take the phone from her when he had called her and told him not to show up here or I would, well, you know. That was not enough. About 2 weeks after this post went up, he showed up. I saw him on the ring cam I had installed and called the police to have him removed. I told him from the door to leave and that if he walked inside, it would be the last thing he ever did. Instead, the police came and removed him. But they did little else but get rid of him. Without a protective order or my daughter filing domestic abuse charges, the most they could really do was tell him to get off my lawn, basically. This was the wake-up call my daughter needed, though. She decided to press charges after he showed up. I retained a lawyer to help us through this. I gave the lawyer the evidence I had accumulated, and he spoke to the DA and police and helped have the charges filed and the restraining order issued. Honestly, I'm not sure what went on there, but people, let me tell you, lawyers are your friend if you need to navigate anything in the legal system, even if you are not a defendant. So that brings us to now. We're moving forward in the legal system to press charges. We have a protective order. She's recovered more or less physically, but emotionally it's going to be a while. I'm in therapy, she's in therapy, and we're in therapy together, yes, lots of therapy. She is sleeping in her own bed when she feels up to it, but she still has nightmares and nights where she feels comforted being close to me. We are comfortable with the arrangements we've made here and have drawn up a plan with her and her therapist to get her back into her own room and bed. I feel bad about the feeding now. I had monitored her food intake before I knew he had been watching how she ate like that. I also feel like I failed to prepare her for someone like that. To everyone who responded to my first thread, thank you, to most of you. Story 5.
My husband became cold and distant toward his daughter to punish her after she was disciplined at school for saying mean things to another girl, and now his daughter has become equally cold in return. I, 36F, have been married to my husband, 40M, for about 4 years now. His daughter, Danny, 15F, lives with us most of the time. I came into her life when she was around 9, and we've always had a good relationship. She's a great kid, smart, funny, a little dramatic sometimes, but generally kind and emotionally aware for her age. He was her safe person through a messy divorce and always made sure she knew she was loved. Their bond has always been more best buds than the typical strict parent dynamic. Recently, Danny got in trouble at school over some texts about another girl in her group chat with her friends. Mostly dumb teenage stuff, but a few of the things Danny said about this particular girl were pretty mean. Not slurs or threats or anything awful like that, but a couple of personal jabs since she didn't particularly like her. How it got out, one of the girls in the group chat had a falling out with the others and screenshotted everything. She sent the screenshots to the girl they'd been talking about, who brought them to a teacher. The school ended up calling a meeting with parents, including my husband. The school took it seriously but handled it well, in my opinion. Danny owned up to what she said and apologized, like, a real apology, not a forced one. The girl actually accepted it, which I think says a lot. At home, though, things took a turn. My husband reacted very differently than I expected. He didn't yell or lose his temper. Instead, he shut down emotionally. He took her phone outside of school use, grounded her for 2 weeks, and gave her extra chores with a big lecture about how being that girl, the mean one, sticks with you, how people remember what you do, how damage can't be undone. But what stood out wasn't the consequences. It was how he did it. It was like a switch flipped. He became cold, very formal, and every interaction with her was short, distant, and transactional. There was no softness, no patience, no sense of connection. It was almost like he couldn't bring himself to look at her the same way. And now, 2 weeks later, that's exactly how she treats him. Polite, obedient, but emotionally closed off. She answers questions, follows rules, says thanks and okay and nothing else. The affection's gone, their usual dynamic is gone. With me, she's still her usual self. She talks, she jokes, she decompresses, runs up to get her hug before I leave in the morning. And my husband has noticed. He asked me if I'd talk to her, help smooth things over, explain where he was coming from. I told him I think she already gets where he was coming from, but I also think she felt hurt a bit, and she's allowed to feel that way. I said that you can't expect a kid to act like nothing happened when their entire sense of safety in a relationship gets rattled like that. That kind of shift in tone, from being your safe person to being so harsh and cold, does something to a kid, especially one who's not used to it. He didn't take it well. He said I was minimizing what she did, and that if anyone in the house deserved hurt feelings, it wasn't Danny. I pushed back and said I wasn't going to push her to pretend she's not feeling what she's feeling just to make him more comfortable. That's when things escalated. He said I was choosing her over him. I said I wasn't choosing anyone, I just wasn't willing to pretend this didn't change things. He said he was trying to keep her from turning into the kind of person who destroys other people's self-worth and walks away. He told me if I couldn't be on the same page with him as a parent, then maybe I needed space to go figure out where I stood. So I left. I'm at my sister's place right now. And she, of course, sides with him and says it's good he's not trying to be the cool dad, that it's better to overreact now than regret not doing enough later. I don't disagree entirely. I just think there's a way to teach a kid something serious without making them feel like they're suddenly a stranger to you. So here I am. I didn't back him up when he asked me to. I told him the truth instead. I didn't think that made me the bad guy, but now I'm not so sure. /relevant comments. Downvoted commenter. I think your husband had a reasonable reaction. Bullying is a really big deal right now, kids committing suicide, kids killing other kids, and maybe he just wanted to nip it in the bud before it snowballed into more egregious behavior. Let him parent his child. Ops response. I'm not stopping him from doing anything, I just let him know that how he did it has consequences. This consequence is that Danny won't be as warm with him as she was before. Commenter 2. It sounds like he asked you to intervene for him, when really, I think he needed to sit down with Danny himself and have a heart-to-heart. The issue was between them, and frankly, the way you described it makes it seem like you were trying to stay a neutral party. You didn't agree with how he handled it, but you didn't come at him for it, you just didn't agree with him when he asked you to get involved. Frankly, I don't think you've done anything wrong here. Navigating these types of relationships is tough, and I'm not surprised you're the one on the outs despite the issue being between the two of them. Hopefully, he comes to his senses and sees that you're not the bad guy here, but it's possible that he expects you to just follow all of his parenting choices blindly, which is just dumb. The fact that he basically kicked you out after that tells me he really thinks he's in the right here. I'm sorry you're having to go through this. Commenter 3. Sounds like dad got bullied as a kid, and he needs to have a vulnerable talk with his daughter about the feelings her actions brought up in him. And then apologize that trauma impacted how he dealt with this. Update 9 days later. It's been a bit since I last posted, and a couple of things